Yeah, KCA, Kev, we're back here and we're looking at the men's tournament this time. Um, it's been a really good tournament. Uh, Goki, them kids at Oakland. Um, Kendrick Nunn, I believe, went to Oakland. Kay Felder, a couple of NBA guys. Um, who else was really good this tournament? Uh, Shout out to FAU. They lost in the first round, but they did well. Their coach Todd May went to Michigan. Um, Drake, they did well. Um, DeVries, um, um, he's the coach. Darian's going to WVU. That's where I went. Son is coming. Tucker's two-time Missouri Valley Conference Player of the Year. Um, who else? Who else played really well this tournament? Yale. Yale beating Auburn. Um, who else? Let's look at another one. Well, Northwestern under Collins, Coach Collins, his father, Doug Collins, brought them to the tournament first time in a few years. Gonzaga did pretty well, made it to the Sweet 16 after having like a down like regular season. Um, Wanted to see some smaller schools in the Final Four, like last year with San Diego State and FAU, but it's okay. Um, just it was a good tournament. It was a good tournament. It's always a good tournament. It's always a blessing. God bless. They prayed up, y'all. It's always a good tournament. It's always a good time. I just think I think another surprise, although they're not a smaller team, NC State with DJ Burns, DJ Horn, DJ Burns, their big man, DJ Horn, their guard. Um, they won 5 games in 5 nights. There's a lot of storylines. 5 games in 5 nights, similar to that old Uconn team with Kemba Walker. They had to win 5 games, 5 nights to win the chip, right? Um, See what happens with NC State, right? They haven't lost since. That's what 8 or 9 in a row. Um, see what happens. Uconn did it. Now um, they're playing against Purdue. Purdue, similar story. They were the number one seed, a number one seed losing to a 16 seed, similar to UVA. UVA lost to UMBC. I believe it was in 2016. What they do the next year, was it 2016 or 2018? Might have been 2018, right? And the next year they came back, won the title with Kyle Guy, um, K. High Clark. Had a good team. Had a good team. Um, Put a lot of guys in the NBA. DeAndre Hunter. There was a lot of good players on that team. Clark. A lot of good players on that team. Um, uh, Coached by Tony Bennett, right? And then also, um, similar to Purdue, right? Lost to a 16 seed, FDU. FDU didn't have a player. I don't believe in the start. I don't know if they had a player, at least in the starting lineup, but I don't know if they had a player over 6'3". So they went small ball and it worked, right? They were probably leaning on, you know, forcing Zach Edey. And credit to Zach Edey. This is not a knock. Credit to Zach Edey. The big Canadian worked on his game, probably player of the year this year. People sit on that left shoulder, right? You're a big man, you're right-handed, you go to the left shoulder, right? But he's been adjusting his game, right? So I think Zach Edey is probably a lottery pick. He's adjusted his game. Credit to him. And one thing I like about Zach Edey, he's got a strong lower base, right? So a lot of times, like big men might be big, but they don't got that strong lower base. So they're big in size, but they might have to be more face-up players because they can't move people out of the way, right? Strong lower base like a Zion, a Charles Barkley, they're not tall, but their base is low. Larry Johnson, another one, right? Those guys that were like undersized but overpowered in the lower legs, if you want to put it that way. Undersized, overpowered, right? Um, so they're trying to do what Virginia did, right? So both storylines, similar teams in the past to UConn, to NC State and UConn, and Purdue in UVA, right? The other matchup we got Alabama with Nate Oates, Rick Pitino protege, um, got them rolling, right? Made it to the Final Four. Strata, New Jersey native. Shout out to New Jersey. That's where I'm from. Um, my man Sears, Mark Sears. I don't know if he's not really getting the love on the NBA radar, but I would say for NBA guys, you got to look at his shooting splits, right? It's not just like he's going, throwing up high numbers. 21 a night in the SEC, 6'1" guard, pretty strong build, right? But he's 50% from the field, over 40% from three. I think 43%. So you got to respect those shooting splits. You know what I mean? He's doing it against high competition. He's brought his team to the Final Four. Something to be said about that. Even if he doesn't get drafted on a two-way contract, I don't see how you go wrong. Defensively, he's got some work to do, but a lot of people got work to do defensively. As long as he can be a serviceable defender, why not give him a shot, right? Um, uh, Looking at UConn, right? UConn's the team to beat. I mean, it's UConn, right? They just been UConn is just loaded, right? They got Tristan Newman, they got Klingham, they got uh, Stephon Castle, whose name has been thrown out there as a high lottery pick. Caravan, they got Cam Spencer. Shout out to Cam Spencer. Had a really good year this year. Transfer from Rutgers, from Maryland. Maryland kid. His brother, the greatest lacrosse player pretty much of all time from Maryland, played at Loyola, Maryland. And I'm so happy. Probably my favorite player in the NBA right now, if you want to call him, if you want to say all that, because he did play for the Golden State Warriors, and I'm happy for him because he's the greatest lacrosse player of all time, but decided to prove it in basketball, and he did, and he made it to the NBA. So his grandchildren, anybody in history knows he made it to the NBA. He played in the NBA for the Golden State Warriors, the greatest team of this last decade. So shout out to Cam Spencer. Um, Shout out to his brother, um, Nate Spencer. Um, yeah, it's gonna be a sweet tourney. It's been a sweet tourney. God bless. Stay prayed up.